Yo, what's going on guys? MMGaming here and I'm back with my 2023 AFL season predictions. Now, this comes shortly after reviewing my 2022 predictions, so let's get into the video. Alright, so I thought today we do something a little bit different than we did last year, so I'm using the website Squiggle, and we're going to be doing tips throughout the year, and it will give us the ladder of where teams stand, and then I think you can tip finals after that, so we're going to do that. And compare to my own predictions. I've got my own few predictions. I've got the Brownlow, Coleman, Rising Star, and the Premiers. So yeah, I've got those as well as the tippings. So let's get started. So this is what the website looks like. Squiggle has done this for the 2023 season. So this is round one here. You can choose in the slider which team you think will win, and obviously if you tip auto tip, it will tip the whole season, and all the results will show up here. So we'll get started with round one. So Richmond versus Carlton, MCG, Thursday night blockbuster. You can also choose a draw. But you can see like the graph here. I think that might mean like which team's more favoured to win, potentially. But anyway, for round one, I'm going to choose Richmond in a close one. And I'll go 8 points. So then obviously you see here Richmond shoot up to the top here. Alright, then we've got our Friday night games. We've got Geelong vs Collingwood. I assume this might just be the same sort of graphic. So MCG, Friday night blockbuster, will go Geelong by... Well, Tom Hawkins is out, to be fair. So we'll go 14 points. Then Geelong leapfrogs Richmond for the top. Favoritism here, North Melbourne, West Coast. It's at Marvel. We'll go North. I don't think we'll win by much. Go 5 points. Go blockbuster. Nice close finish. Port Adelaide versus Brisbane Lions at Adelaide Oval. I want to tip the Lions. Port are good at home, but I feel like the Lions might get the jump on them. We're Lions by 17. Melbourne versus Western Bulldogs, MCG. We'll go Melbourne, we'll say 22 points. Alright, Gold Coast Suns versus Sydney Swans, Carrara. Ooh. Is Carrara the Metro Club? Or is that? Okay, might be. Oh, there you go. So you can see the curve here, so it favours Sydney for this one. And I tend to agree. I say the Swans, even though they've had a rough start to the pre-season, I'll go Swans by 25. GWS versus Adelaide. I feel like, oh, it's at Sydney Showgrounds. We might go, this one will be close. We'll go Adelaide in a close one. We'll go 8 points. And as you can see here, like a depiction of what the game might look like. So it's got Adelaide 84, GWS 76, so it's just predicting what the score might be. Ooh, blockbuster, Hawthorn versus Essendon, MCG. Shouldn't that be a Sunday game? And the curve is very close to the middle. We'll go Essendon, and I won't say by much. We'll go 9 points. And this might be the last game. Yes, it is. St Kilda versus Fremantle. It's at Marvel. I feel like the Dockers might prevail. We'll go Freo by 16 points. So there you go, that's round one. I'm going to go through the rest of the rounds, and then we'll compare what this ladder looks like compared to what I've predicted, and see how close we get. Alright, so we have finished the 24 rounds of tipping, and this is what we've come up with. So in last place we've got West Coast, 3 wins, 20 losses. Hawthorn, 3 wins, 20 losses as well. GWS, 4 wins, 19 losses. Gold Coast, 4 wins, 19 losses. North Melbourne and St Kilda tied. Adelaide, Essendon 11th. Western Bulldogs 10th. Port Adelaide 9th. We've got Sydney dropping down to 8th from last year. Carlton make the 8, they're in 7th. Fremantle are 6th. Collingwood are in 5th, just outside the top 4. Richmond just pipped them in the last round. They're into 4th. Brisbane are 3rd. We have Geelong in 2nd, and the minor premiers are Melbourne. So we've got the finals that look like this. Scroll down a little bit, you can see the top here. So we've got Melbourne, Richmond, Collingwood, Sydney, Fremantle, Carlton, Geelong, Brisbane. So we'll go Melbourne, we'll go Collingwood will get their revenge. Fremantle, Carlton, we'll go Fremantle. Geelong, Brisbane, we'll go Geelong. Alright, so then semi-final, Richmond, Collingwood and Brisbane, Fremantle. We'll go with Collingwood and Brisbane. Melbourne versus Brisbane, Geelong versus Collingwood. We'll go Melbourne and Geelong. And then the grand final, Melbourne, Geelong, we'll go with Melbourne. So there you go. That is my prediction via the ladder predictor. You can also choose to reset and auto tip. So, alright, so that's all reset now, and then we'll click on auto tip, and it'll go through the season, and it will automatically go through the tipping and see what the ladder comes up with. So there we go. So we've got West Coast in 18th, North Melbourne 17th, Hawthorn 16th, then Adelaide, Essendon, GWS, St Kilda, Gold Coast, Fremantle outside of the top 8, Bulldogs are 9th, Carlton 8th, Collingwood 7th, Brisbane in 6th. I've got Port Adelaide 5th, Melbourne 4th, Sydney 3rd, Richmond 2nd, that's a big jump for Richmond, and Geelong in 1st. And then as you can see here, it's got the finals. So yeah, let's see how I predicted them. Alright, so this is what I've got for my predictions for the 2023 AFL season. So we have from 18th, I've gone with the Hawthorn Hawks. I believe Sam Mitchell's going in the right direction with the team, but I feel like getting rid of all the experience at the end of last year, it's going to be a noticeable difference getting rid of O'Meara and Mitchell. So there's a lot of youngsters in the team, but I feel like they might start to struggle. So I was tossing up between West Coast and Hawthorn for 17th and 18th, and I've gone with Hawthorn. But likely to change. Hawks could come out of the blocks firing, full of energy, but from what I've seen so far, obviously it's only a match simulation, but how they drafted as well, it looks like they're going through a rebuild. So in 18th, I've got Hawthorn. In 17th place, as I said, I have thought about this one, and I've gone with West Coast. I feel like they're still rebuilding as well. They've topped up in the draft. I think they've got Jaden Hunt now, and yeah, looking at players that will look to rebuild the team and build around them. But I feel like with the loss of Josh Kennedy for retiring, they might struggle in the forward line this year, and might have another difficult season. In 16th place, and my own team, North Melbourne, I predicted them here last year, and unfortunately they've gone back-to-back wooden spoons. So another year of optimism. We now have Alistair Clarkson as coach, and have drafted and traded very well. So players like Griffin Logue, we are looking quite strong defensively, and just need to work on building the relationship in the forward line. We've got Larky and Coleman, so from what I've seen in the intra club and the match simulation, the team seem to be gelling quite well, and seems to be a noticeable difference that they're playing more as a team, and look forward to what we come up with this year. Hopefully get a few more wins, that would be nice. But 16th I've got North Melbourne. In 15th place, and a little bit of a step above from last year, I've got the GWS Giants. I feel like they're going to struggle again this year, especially after losing Hopper and Taranto out of the midfield. Tom Green might have to step up in there, and yeah, I feel like the Giants are going to have a difficult year. In 15th place, I've got the GWS Giants. In 14th place, and unfortunately another year without finals, I've got the Gold Coast Suns. Took Miller, great player, honestly a chance for the Brownlow, but with the Suns losing Isaac Rankin to the Adelaide, I feel like Gold Coast might be the same old team that they'll look to impress, but towards the end of the year they're going to be outside the 8 by percentage, by wins. So in 14th place I've got the Gold Coast Suns. In 13th place I have the Adelaide Crows. Adelaide are one of those teams, they could have been close to the 8. They look quite good. They've got Isaac Rankin in the forward line, as I mentioned, and I think Rory Sloan is still going through, but I think for the Crows they just lack a little bit of talent. So I reckon they'll do quite well this year, but I still have them sitting just outside the 8 in 13th place. In 12th position I have St Kilda. Now the Saints are going to be without Jack Billings for a number of weeks. I think out of the match simulation he has a broken or fractured tibia or fibula. So I feel like the Saints will miss him. I feel like St Kilda will struggle without Max King. He's out for the first month through injury, I believe. So I think when they're normally attacking, they focus firmly on him, similar to what North Melbourne were doing with Ben Brown back in the day. And I feel like they're missing that tall target. I think they've got Tom Campbell, who might play ruck forward if he's selected. Obviously Ryder has retired now, but they need players like Marshall to step up and Jack Steele to take the team close to the finals, but I have them sitting in 17th. In 11th position, and unfortunately for Essendon fans, you guys are going to be without a finals win for another season. I've got Essendon in 11th because they're one of those teams, again, they can get in a bit of a trot as we saw, but I think they're just lacking again through players, and yeah, I've just got Essendon in 11th at the moment. I think Essendon are going through trying to get their young guns up and running, trying to get them up to speed. I think they're going quite well, but yeah, I feel like another year without finals and a finals win for Essendon. In 10th position and dropping out of the 8 from last year, I have the Western Bulldogs. I think they're going to be a quality team this year, but I think there's certainly some other teams that are better than them, and I think that the Bulldogs might just miss the 8, but it'll be very close with teams like Port Adelaide, teams like even Collingwood and Carlton. Those sort of teams will be close with wins and percentage, so early wins will be a factor, but I feel like the Bulldogs in 10th, that might just suit them. In 9th position and just missing out on finals is nah, it's not Carlton, it's Port Adelaide. I've got Port Adelaide missing the finals. So Power, they recruited quite well over the off-season. Obviously they've got Jason Horne-Francis in their team now, unfortunately, but yeah, for Power, they're going to have a better year than last year, absolutely. They finished off quite strongly after a poor start, and I believe they'll go one better this year, but just missing out on finals. Now, we go through the top 8, and in 8th position, dropping out of the top 4 from last year, I have Collingwood. I think they'll still be a good team. They recruited well. They've got Tom Mitchell.
Pause.
They've got the forward power. Darcy Moore as captain as Pendle stood down, but I feel like Collingwood in 8th, they'll just, well, I won't say just, they'll manage to get into the top 8, but I feel like they might be a bit worried about teams behind them, like Port Adelaide and the Bulldogs. So I think Collingwood in 8th, or they might go just above. In 7th position and making the finals this year, we have Carlton. That's right, Carlton. Now for Carlton, they'll struggle at the start of the season. They've got Sam Walsh out for about a month, or at least the start of the season through back injury. But I feel like they might do better this year. They will definitely make the 8, and they will look to improve after the disappointment of missing out only just from last year. Harry Mackay, Charlie Kerner, they're going to improve from last year. I do not have either of them for the Coleman though, but Carlton will definitely make the 8 and will look to go far in finals. In 6th position, and were the runners up from last year's grand final, I have the Sydney Swans. I feel like the shock loss to Geelong and getting thrashed in the grand final will bring them down a little bit, and I feel like they're still a top 8 team, but just out of the top 4. I've got them in 6th. They'll have another good year if Buddy keeps on playing. He's one of those players that is looking towards the end of his career. He might only play home games or might only travel every so often, but Sydney were looking quite a good team last year, taking some big scalps and getting some good wins. So I've got Sydney in 6th position. In 5th position, I have the Fremantle Dockers. I believe they're a team that will do quite well this year. They're going to be quite competitive, and with Rory Lobb leaving, I think he's got traded out late towards the end of the draft and picking up Jaeger O'Meara from Hawthorn. And you'll see Nat 5 going forward a lot more this year, and I think it'll be pretty beneficial for them. Got Matt Taberner in the forward line. I'm sure he'll be slotting a few goals. Obviously, they've lost a couple of key players, but I think Freo are going to be a good team again. I wrote them off last year and paid the price for it, but yeah, Fremantle in 5th place for me. Now we round out the top 4. I've got the top 4 teams all sorted. I've got in 4th place, I have the Richmond Tigers. I think with their recruitment of Taranto and Hopper, they're going to go one better from last year. I think they made the 8 last year. They took Brisbane right to the wire and just lost in the elimination final. So I feel like Richmond might go a bit of the way into the finals. They might even make semi or prelim, but I don't see them going all the way. If Dusty stays fit, they're going to look quite a good team. And Tom Lynch and Jack Rewalt working on their partnership in the forward line. So yeah, looking forward to the season for Richmond. In 3rd position, I have the Brisbane Lions. I think they finished in 6th place last year, so they dropped below where I thought they were going to go. I thought they were going to be 1st, but yeah, they seem like a team that work well together, and they had a good match simulation the other day, and with their draftee Will Ashcroft, he looks like a gun, another Nick Dacos type for the midfield. I don't think he's quite as good as Nick Dacos, but I think Brisbane's going to do quite well this year again. And with Josh Dunkley recruited into the team to help Lachie Neale with his workload, I think Brisbane's going to be quite a good team to play. In 2nd position is the Premiers from last year, Geelong. They're going to be missing Joel Selwood in the midfield, but they've got Patrick Dangerfield as their captain now. He's going to lead the team quite well, and I think Geelong will back up from last year. They're going to go a long way into the finals and have some good wins throughout the year, but I do not have them in 1st. I've got them in 2nd. 1st place, you might be wondering, where's Melbourne? Well, they are 1st. I've got Melbourne in 1st because with the rupture of Grundy and Gawn, I think they're going to do quite well this year. I think Oliver and Petrarca are going to go one better from last year. They did quite well in the Brownlow. I think they were both tied 3rd or 4th in the Brownlow. I think those two working on a partnership together in the midfield are going to be dominant. I think they just need to work on their forward line structure a little bit. I think they've lost Sam Wiedemann to Essendon, but they've still got Ben Brown. I think they've still got Tom McDonald, Bailey Fritsch, another good year. So yeah, minor premiers are Melbourne. Now we have the segment where we go through the Brownlow, the Coleman Medal, the Rising Star, and the eventual premiers. So for the Brownlow, I was tossing up between two different names. Now these are two players that got quite close to the Brownlow, and one of them has won it before, but the main player I believe that will have a high chance is Clayton Oliver. Now I think Petrarca took a few votes off him last year, but he had an outstanding season, and he's going to go one better and might take Charlie home. So I think it will either be Oliver or I have another player in mind. Previous Brownlow winner, Patrick Dangerfield. I think he's going to carry the midfield for Geelong. He'll go forward when needed, and he'll have another good season for Geelong. Now I've got the Coleman Medal for this year. I was having a look through the stats from last year and seeing who might improve or who might stay around the same. The Coleman Medal's around about 60 to 70 goals throughout the season, and I think this player might be capable of achieving that. He's a previous winner, and I've gone with Tom Lynch from Richmond. So I think Tom Lynch, he had a good season last year. I think towards the middle part of the year he might have lost a bit of his way, but I think or it might have been injured, but I think he's going to do better this year. I think partnership with Rewalt will work well, and with the midfield team that they have, they're going to have heaps of opportunity to score, and I think Tom Lynch might be the man. Now this one I had two for last year. It's the Rising Star. Obviously Nick Dacos winning last year in a superb season. Again this year I feel like there's only really one player. I've gone to look at the draft. I had a look at North players, but I don't really want to pick my own team. Harry Sheasel obviously a shining light in our match simulation, and I hope he gets his first game in round one, but I've gone with Will Ashcroft for the Rising Star. I think he's just a quality player, dominant in the NAB League, and for him to be taken at pick number 2, I think North Melbourne took the bid on him, and Brisbane matched with the father-son bid, so yeah, obviously he's quite a good player. Would have gone number 1 if it wasn't for the father-son rule, but yeah, Brisbane are going to have a good season with him under the wings of Dunkley and Neil, and you got McCluggage and Lyons through there. So yeah, I got Will Ashcroft for the Rising Star. Now the most important thing is the premiers for 2023. Now I had to think about this, about my top 8 and who will progress through the finals. So I had a bit of a thought about it. I think Geelong will be in the grand final again. I feel like they're the type of team that will make it through the finals. But unfortunately, I have them losing the grand final, and I think they're going to lose to Melbourne. So I think Melbourne will be the premiers for 2023. They'll come back from a disappointing year and they'll make it all the way. Alright, that does it for the AFL 2023 season predictions. I hope I get some of these right this year. I wasn't as successful last year, but let me know what you think in the comments down below, and what you think will happen this year, who will be in the top 8, who will be wooden spooners, hopefully not North Melbourne. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on my predictions, and I hope you liked the video. Anyway, take care, and I'll see you later.